A to the K.
To the K.
To the K.
Hello, one and all. Welcome to the A to the K Wrestling Show. Did you miss us? It's been like 2 weeks. How have you coped? How have you managed? You know?
I know I haven't.
Me neither. We've just been sat here, just, rocking back and forth.
Just pining away.
Yeah. So, God knows how you guys have been feeling. But, without further ado, let's do what we always do, because we know you've missed it. We're going to throw it over to Road Dogg for A to the K's little known fact of the week.
Oh, you didn't know?
It's nice and reliable Road Dogg.
It's a reliable Road Dogg. That's how they know.
Reliable Road Dogg. Yeah, unlike some tag team champions. Anyway, so Anthony, inside jokes. So this week we are coming at you with a Rock fact because Anthony, as we know, The Rock, multi-time world champion, done it all, but he's also been a five-time. Oh wait, no, that was Booker T. He's been a 5-time tag team champion. Did you know? Well,
I know he has been tag team champion, but I wouldn't have guessed 5 times. That seems a surprisingly high number for a man whose solo career is probably the biggest point.
Indeed. But Anthony, in all 5 of The Rock's tag team title reigns, none of them have lasted for longer than 8 days.
So
probably
he's not
why
a good tag team champion.
You didn't know. Indeed.
Okay.
So his first reign.
Tag team is not one of them.
But he doesn't like to share. So his first reign as one half of the Rock and Sock Connection lasted 8 days. That was before they were beaten by Undertaker and Big Show. They won it back from them. Obviously, they won it back from them after just 1 day. They won it back and then they lost it after just 1 day to the New Age Outlaws. They then recaptured it.
Nice.
Well, yeah, they then recaptured it from them 3 weeks later for the third reign, which lasted just 6 days. When surprisingly they lost it to the Hollies.
An actual tag team.
Of course they did. The Rock would go on to win it 2 more times. First with the Undertaker. Who remembers that? So they beat Edge and Christian.
Yeah. I always remember them two as a team. It just makes so much sense.
Well, exactly. And again, they lost it 1 day later back to Edge and Christian.
You
and lastly,
even give the name. We had the Rock and Sock Connection. We not get like anything for this Rock and Undertaker. No.
No. What would that be?
I feel like there's something there. Dead people. Oh.
Yeah. Like if you team with Kane, it'd be quite straightforward. The Rock and Cock Connection. But I don't know for Undertaker. We're going to be real savage about Kane in the news later, so make sure you tune in for that.
Is it for us to talk politics? Fuck it, we're gonna.
No, yeah, it's not what we do, but boy, are we gonna. And lastly, obviously, the other formidable tag team, The Rock and Chris Jericho. And again, lost it 8 days later to Booker T and Test.
Can we do right? This is a segment coming up, right? Not the Test thing, right? This is a segment coming up. I want to rank Jericho's tag teams because he's had a fucking lot of tag teams, right? I mean, apparently so is The Rock. But Jericho, he's like teamed with The Big Show, he's teamed with The Rock, he's teamed with various other people. Those two are the ones that sprung to my mind, so that maybe not got as much legs as I thought.
Loads.
Well, 2 of them. But I'm confident we could do a 10 on this.
Okay, I like that. And if we can't find enough Jericho tag teams, maybe we could just do the 10 most random tag team pairings of all time, because there's a few in there where you just like...
But I love that more, actually. Fuck Jericho.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do that.
I mean, that was a bit aggressive. I have a lot of time with Jericho. He's a good guy.
Exactly. But yeah, so Anthony, that was A to the K's little known fact of the week, and this is Road Dogg, reliable Road Dogg, to sing us out of the segment.
Reliable Road Dogg.
Oh, you didn't know?
So, let's talk WWE, shall we?
Right on through.
So, I mean, we haven't even really discussed, the Triple H era, because obviously we've had a fortnight off. But one thing I was massively enjoying this week, which will come as a surprise to absolutely fucking nobody, is we had a Drew McIntyre and Kevin Owens match. 2 guys who I absolutely fucking love the bones of. So, as you can imagine, I loved it. So we had an awesome promo battle between the pair of them. Both absolutely nailed it. Kevin Owens comes out. He says he hasn't won a title in 5 years. So the prize fighter's back. He doesn't care whether it's the tag titles, the US title, whatever. He's coming for them, but he's also coming for that world title. And I actually really like the fact he called Drew out for his lack of authenticity, his deep voice and the kilt and the sword, because it's all true. It's the stuff that he never used to do when he was at the peak, and now he's obviously been doing it.
He never used to have a deep voice.
Well, he's
Is he like secretly high voiced? I didn't know this.
Yeah, that's why that's why they let him go the first time. Really, you put him in 3-man band. He was doing the the really high notes.
He's doing the falsetto.
That's the one.
I don't know, that might not be right. I just wanted to say falsetto.
Okay, yeah, we'll go with it. But yeah, so obviously Drew responded to that again fantastically, saying he knows exactly who he is. He's the guy who got fired, worked his ass off. WWE called him. He didn't call WWE. Now he's here. It's kind of the same stuff he said before, but it's all true. So it still has credibility to it. And ultimately it led to a match which was going really, really well until the fucking Usos got involved. And it went to a DQ. This is the
Triple H era right there. No, this is the Triple H era. Ultimately, it led to a match. I'm not used to that.
Well, exactly. I mean, to be fair, I was expecting Kevin Owens, when Drew did that, to go, yeah, okay, but not tonight. And, slide out and do the typical heel thing. So when we got a match,
we need to do a KO show for no reason.
Well, exactly. So when the match actually happened, I was shocked.
For those who want to be salty.
So yeah, I was thoroughly entertained. But interestingly as well, after the whole shenanigans and Usos going after Drew, Kevin Owens is like, tell your tribal chief he owes me one, which is interesting. I don't really know why, but yeah. So all in all,
on what though?
Enjoyed it.
What does he own?
Just one. He owes him the ability to be one with himself.
Well, is it a title match? Does he have to owe him a title match? Could he not have just had one?
Yeah, maybe he'll just start coming out with Roman in the Bank briefcase now.
Nice. Can I just say one thing about the whole Drew McIntyre thing?
No.
Fine.
Go on.
It's just that people were loving the whole wrestlers in a wrestling ring comment.
Yeah.
Is it just me who thought that was a bit weak?
Yeah, it's...
I get what they're getting at, because it's like, oh, we're not allowed to... We're superstars, we're not wrestlers. And it's been like that for years, so this was like, oh, look, they're saying wrestlers. But it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
The second W is for wrestling, right? I don't know, I've seen it on socials quite a lot. Like, people are like, oh, it's a great line. It's like, was it though?
Is that what that stands for? All this time I thought it was Where's Wally Entertainment. Damn it. Sorry, where's Waldo? Now. Where's Waldo for our American fans?
Yeah, that's a weird change up in it. We call him Wally for some reason. But no, for me, I was just like, I suppose context is important, but people would be rinsing the fuck out of this if it was AEW.
Yeah.
We're wrestlers in a wrestling ring. Yeah. That's totally true.
Yeah, it's a bit on the nose, isn't it? It's like,
we're podcasters on a podcast. See? What pointless, isn't it? Just saying. But no, I'd say I get why people are sort of interested that they've used the term wrestler, but I'm just like, I
can't believe you used...
I didn't grab it, it grabbed others.
Can't believe you used the forbidden P word there, Anthony. We're not just a podcast. We're a we're a YouTube show as well. We don't refer to ourselves as just a podcast anymore.
That's true.
But yeah,
I think that's our next special segment, though. Forbidden P. Okay. Khan can do it. We can do it.
Let's do it.
Anyway, should I start talking about the bit, the actual bit that I've got in the notes to talk about, or should I carry on bitch Drew McIntyre for no reason?
Whatever floats your boat.
Choice. I'll let you pick. No, so obviously we've seen a lot of stuff going on, a lot of change. We've actually debated whether this change has been as heavy as people are making it out to be. There may be some overhype in a lot of senses. But one thing that wasn't overhyped, Carl, Dexter Lumis is back. Now, I already know that you have possibly some reservations with how they're doing this, but let's delve into it. So we saw this last week, and obviously we didn't podcast last week, so I need to mention it this week, and it continues. So obviously we've got these sort of random appearances from Dexter in, let's say, the audience, which I think is I don't know why I'm saying let's say, it was definitely in the audience. But this is the bit that I think you're unsure about. Now, there seems to be a lot of speculation as well over obviously we see the hand on the door wearing fingerless gloves, and a lot of people are speculating, is this the Fiend yeah, I personally think probably not. Like, we'll talk about that a little bit as well, possibly. But let's just say, in terms of the Dexter thing, Carl. So we see Dexter jumping the barricades, getting tackled by security. Now, I'm intrigued as to how they're booking this because we haven't had a lot said on it just yet. But I think this is a little bit different than, oh, look who's back and walking down the ring and challenging someone. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm right in saying you had some sort of reservation over like what is this booking for Dexter?
Yeah, I mean,
the concept of being the guy in the audience.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It feels a little bit flat. I know people are loving it. Like, oh, this is amazing. It's keeping you watching every week to see what happens. It's like, well, not really. It's just, he's just there in the audience, and they're kind of doing the angle that wasn't an angle with Enzo Amore after he got released, and he decided to just rock up in the arena and cause a bit of fucking havoc, and then security took him out. So they've gone, well, what if we did that with Dexter Lewis? And it's like, I had no idea what the end goal is with it. Is it literally just to?
Well, this is where we sort of tie back into like the fingerless gloves, and the belief that it is Dexter. But do you think it is going to lead to like a possible bigger picture here, or do you think it is just Dexter and we're leading somewhere to like? Again, I don't really know what they do with it. Some sort of feud, obviously, but this whole speculation over the possibility of the Fiend, and again, I don't want to steal your points away from you, but one thing we mentioned off air was that some people even suggesting that this could be the start of a faction, so it's not just Dexter.
Yeah, I think people are reading
being a whole thing here.
Yeah, people are reading between the imaginary lines that I don't think exist. But yeah, obviously now that Triple H is bringing everybody back, they're thinking, well, Wyatt could be one of those ones. And we know we've had the Cult of Wyndham stuff and things like that, and the Wyatt Six and stuff and all that kind of stuff. So people are now starting to speculate that we're going to get some sort of faction here. But for me, the hand on the door was Dexter's hand. I think people were just looking at it and going, nah, it's definitely.
It's not as if they made it blatant enough and it didn't have like hair roads on it or anything.
Well, exactly. But obviously they're there looking, going, well, the Fiend wore these types of gloves too. And it's like, well, fuck it, my God.
So did 70 other wrestlers, but okay.
Yeah, I just think the whole thing's random. So obviously the crash car last week, the bin that's on fire backstage, it's giving me like Retribution vibes when they were just there going, yeah, we're angsty, and we're gonna,
I hate that connection, but I see your point.
Yeah.
The positives I'm going to take from this though, Carl, right? Dexter Lumis, we thought he was ace on NXT. Then it got a little bit random in terms of like, well, he's gone, and then now he's getting called up / brought back, and I don't know what the fuck. And then, like, did we even see him since the whole married off thing? I think that was the last thing he did.
I mean,
the whole Gargano family kind of disappeared after that.
Well, exactly. But, I wasn't a big fan of that at all either. But
so I suppose his running NXT got a little bit of shit as well. But for me, I'm quite happy. In a few weeks we've had of like call ups, and we'll talk about others, call ups / returns. But it is very NXT branded, isn't it? I quite like the way they're doing this, and to be honest, I quite like the level of pitching this at. Like Dexter's come in clearly at the mid card. You know what I mean? That's no disrespect to Bobby or AJ, but like, look at the match. He was sort of, I don't even want you, can we call it interfering? He didn't really achieve a lot. But the matches he's sort of centered around Bobby versus AJ, and it's no disrespect to either because they've both been in the main event scene, but they're quite clearly in the mid card at the moment, Yeah. And I think that's
it's different to carry and rocking up, for example.
That's exactly that's where Dexter should be initially, because we've not really. I still maintain this from NXT. We've not had a lot of them in the ring, really. So
no, exactly.
It could be huge, it could be awesome, but I don't know. I think there's some positives to take from this. I think it's a bit different to what they've been doing with other people. So
yeah, I mean, I am a big Dexter Lumis fan. I think the thing that worries me is obviously we don't really watch NXT anymore, but I did see that Indy Hartwell got a Valentine's type card off Dexter Lumis this at yesterday's show. And it was like, oh God, what are they doing here now? But I don't know. I think it could land, or it could just fall flat. At the minute, for me, it's just a bit. I don't know. I'm not massively sold on it. I think people are losing their mind over it, whereas I'm just kind of like, okay, marginally intrigued, but yeah.
It's it's super intriguing because of who's at the helm at this point. Because all due respect to Vince, he's always been up and down on these sort of characters, and he's either going to massively fuck it up or it's going to really take off. And For me, I thought it probably would have gone the other way with Dexter. So I'm intrigued to see what Triple H does with him and whether he has a similar sort of approach in there. It may just be something totally fucking stupid and not work out, or who knows, man? Who knows?
Who knows? Well, speaking of things that are totally fucking stupid, so I can't let them off the hook. We've let them get away with it for far too long. So I'm talking, of course, about the 24/7 title. So we've got Bayley's little faction still doing the rounds backstage, and then those three kind of, corner Dana Brooke, and Dana's kind of there with the 24/7 title, and it's like, well, okay, now we're going to have a match, which is not for the title, between Dakota Kai and Dana Brooke. So I don't know, like, we've let this slide for far too long. It hasn't been as prevalent the last couple of weeks, especially since Triple H has been involved, even to the point people thought he'd just abandoned it. But it was very much here this week.
That would have been some good booking right there. Just
well, exactly. I mean, the concept is still a wonderful thing. Like, the stuff you've mentioned that they could do with it would be amazing, but they just don't. But essentially, we ended up having this match, and it was a non-title match. Now, I legitimately don't understand that. Like, how can it be the 24/7 title but not on the line? I get
so fucking conditional. It's unreal.
I can slightly overlook when there's scheduled matches for it, because that makes sense, because it's 24/7 title, and I suppose, even though I'm not a fan of it, it's still on the line, right? But how can it?
Yeah, take your point there.
It can't be a 24/7 title if it's not on the line 24/7.
You see, annoyingly, because it's the 24/7 title, they have to specifically specify that this is a non-title match.
Well, yeah,
which is fucking annoying. Usually you get the reverse, don't you? Like, the champ will have a match, and you're told whether it's a title match.
Yeah.
Like, you don't assume it's a title match, but we're meant to assume that with the 24/7 title. So the fact that they now have to consciously go out of the way to go, this isn't a title match, by the way, to leave us to sit here and go, well, why not? Yeah. Because, and again, we've talked about this before, but I'm going to bitch about it again. Why not just pin her immediately after the non-title match then?
Well, exactly. She's already down. Match has ended. All right, I may as well get the title then as well. Done.
And I'd actually give them some credit if they did that. Like, they literally just stayed there and went, count it again, and then took the title.
Yeah.
Because why the fuck not? It's only during that match that it's not on the line, surely.
That's it. Like legitimate. Beside the fact it looks like a big fucking turd. If
it's the ugliest one.
It's horrible.
I've yet to see a title worse than it, to be honest.
I still remember when Mick Foley unveiled that belt, and everyone was like proper hyped. It was like the 24/7 is gonna be like the hardcore title. He brings it out, and everyone just like, the fuck is that? So yeah, it looks awful, but also it could have been something great, and it's just unfortunately just been a failure the whole time. So
let's be self-aware with this. I think they should go meta, and even the wrestlers themselves know that it's a dog shit title and they don't want it, and the challenge is to get rid of it onto someone else.
That might be quite an interesting way to do it, to be fair. Just literally like knocking somebody out, but then pulling them on top of you to cover you. Yeah. Like, no, I don't want this piece of shit.
That would have saved me for a good few weeks.
Yeah, well, that's it. It needs to do something. Like, even when the whole stuff they were doing with Reggie and Dana, and then even putting it on Dana, just it was the bottom of the barrel for it, really. So it either needs to be just, put to bed now, or they need to just give it a shot in the arm, because, it's woeful.
Indeed. Shocking stuff. So, let's talk about Karrion Kross, shall we, Carl?
Okay.
Now, I think it's fair to say. Right, so firstly, Karrion Kross is back, for those who don't know. Again, we're a little bit behind. Apologies for that. Now, I was made up to see him back, mostly because of how he was back. And I mentioned this to Carl earlier, that when he debuted on WWE, they fucked this up so much. Like, NXT, it was fine. But then you go main roster call up, and they go, well, we're not going to include Scarlett. We still don't really know why that was, but, that was the case. We're not going to include Scarlett, and he's going to dress like a Roman Gimp. Right, because
with a motorcycle helmet.
Lord knows he needed a character change, right? And then lo and behold, it wasn't working out, and they got rid of him because it's not working out, is it? So the fact that they brought him back is great, right? I always thought he had potential in that sense, right? But the fact that they brought him back exactly how they fucking should have debuted him in the first place is fantastic. And I said this to you before, Carl, like, without Scarlett, he's shit, really. That's no disrespect to him. Like, shit might be a bit of a strong term. He's still a really talented guy, but like, not in that point of view. Like, he's great in the ring, but promo wise and intimidation wise, that all comes from Scarlett. Scarlett is the perfect hype woman for him.
Yeah.
Right. Like, look at the way he debuted on NXT and the way it was done this time around. Like, she comes out, she doesn't even have to say anything. Just put the clock down. You know, the whole entrance, the whole approach is like intimidating as fuck. And you're like, oh shit, it's going down. He's gonna go after Roman eventually, one of these days, soon, maybe. Right? And for me, that works perfectly. Like, when it's just him rocking up by himself, and again, I think you mentioned as well, like, even especially now with the hair, the look isn't really that intimidating.
No.
She sells the fuck out of this, and I'm so glad that they're back as a duo. I don't know how you feel about the return of Karrion Carl, but this to me has legs. I don't realistically, is he someone who could beat Roman? I don't know, but like, the fact that this is the right gimmick now, I think is all the potential in the world, man.
Yeah, well, you know, keep calm and carry on. I didn't mind it at all. To be fair, I was quite swerved by it in a good way. I think it's good that they've got someone they're pushing towards the main event level that is a heel. Because it's just been the Roman show, hasn't it? And he's the main heel. Everyone else is, you know, ooh, can we topple Roman? So it's nice to have that other dynamic there of somebody else who's a heel but is also vying for the title. So it kind of makes Roman.
Love the irony that he's going after Roman, considering his last main roster gimmick.
Yeah, should be staying the fuck away from that. But no, to be fair, yeah, I'm happy he's back, and to your point, I'm happy that they're back as a package because that's where it works really well. I don't feel like they've amped it up as much as they did in NXT, like, you know, with the like the all constantly doing the black and white stuff, and you know the super mystique.
Like, but even weeks before he debuted, they had the promos where he was like outside in his car for some reason and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which again was a little bit odd, but there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like you say, it's not at the same hype, but it certainly had the shock value because he was doing control your narrative and then decided to actually control his narrative and fucking leave.
Yeah. Well, I think he did. Was it NW? He did. Wasn't he facing Davey Boy?
Oh, I think he was actually. Yeah.
Was it NWA or something? Literally like a couple of days before.
Was it MLW?
Maybe it was MLW, yeah. So, yeah, fair play. I was swerved by it. Like,
yeah, the shock value, because we couldn't have done the hype package and had the same shock. So the shock value of him coming back was pretty good in that sense.
Yeah.
One thing I will complain about, and not too much because this is early doors, but obviously we missed a couple of weeks, Carl. Most recently, we had essentially him and Scarlett involved in kind of the typical clusterfuck. Do you know what I mean? Like, we had Scarlett interrupting Drew, and then the Usos beating him down, and then naturally that turns into a tag match, which I kind of hate that whole trope anyway. And then Madcap Moss is Drew's partner for some reason, like, which again doesn't really add up because, you know, that's the same guy who tried to kill him with a chair. So, like, when did they become, like, there's so many people who Drew could partner with. Sheamus being, like, where is Sheamus? Is Sheamus even on the same roster anymore?
Don't know. It's a shame. It's a shameful thing. I think he lost his
head. But yeah, like, I again, it's early doors, so I'm not moaning too much, but I feel like the second week out was a bit more typical, like, messy than anything else, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Well, Anthony, speaking of things that, you know, like water under the bridge and completely forgotten about, if you will, this next one was really interesting. So Ronda Rousey, who wasn't meant to be there because she's suspended, ended up turning up with a bag full of money. That's right, Ronda Rich comes out.
Wait. Didn't we get that with Becky Lynch?
Yes, we did. The exact same thing, right? Whereas when Becky made it seem badass, Ronda just came across like an entitled little rich bitch that had used a fucking trust fund. You know what I mean? It was like she came out and was like, "Well, I can afford it," and it was like, "Oh god," because she's terrible on the mic as it is, so she just didn't get it across properly anyway. Whereas Becky came across as a badass by saying, "Yeah, whatever, I'll pay the fine. It's not going to stop me." Whereas she was just like, "Yeah, you know, that comes with the territory when you're the baddest bitch around. It gets expensive." It's like, have you seen those videos on like TikTok and that of like the American bullies? And they're like walking down, like that's what she reminded me of. She was just there, like, well, I can do what I want.
A parody. That's fantastic.
So
honestly,
yeah,
it's so annoying. Like, what is she talking about anyway?
I have no idea.
It's expensive.
She's awful.
What are you doing, running people over? Like, you're paying out compensation left and fucking right because you're the baddest bitch around.
Well, exactly.
What are you bad at?
Yeah, well, everything. Hey,
I give people food poisoning because I'm bad. Like, okay. Sure.
But the thing that irked me even more than this, believe it or not, so similar to as you've just said, like water under the bridge with Madcap and Drew, is as Ronda's walking out, Shayna Baszler of all people stops her on the ramp, and she's like, oh well, I've skipped a massive part. I was like, oh, you can't do that. Yeah, you can't empty the money. No, the security came to basically take her out, and she was like beating the shit out of security. And Shayna Baszler comes on the ramp and is like, you can't do that. You've got to play by the rules. And I'm like, this is the same bitch who bit a chunk out of fucking Becky Lynch's neck like last year. Like, what the hell?
Voice of reason.
I know.
Oh, Ronda, no.
It's the most random thing anyway because she's a heel. Like, why would you come out going, you can't do this. You got to play by the rules and you get what you want. It's like, okay, Shayna. So.
And what exactly did you get, Shayna?
Well, I think she's a.
Now, apparently. Like,
well,
she
has got a title shot, to be fair to it, but so I suppose it kind of made sense, but at the same time, yeah.
I'm just saying, man, I think she got a lot further not playing by the rules when you look at her actual main roster run.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know,
she come out biting people and destroying people in the elimination chamber. She had a rocket up her ass at first. Right, playing by the rules has done her no fucking favors.
Yeah, exactly. Agreed.
She wants to go back to biting people. Maybe that's what the story is. Maybe Ronda's going to influence her. Maybe.
And then they'll join Judgment Day and it'll be a vampire cult and everyone will live happily ever after.
Live. See what you did there. So, Carl, we had also this week, and probably I think the last one for WWE, but we had a tournament announced to crown the new women's tag champs. So, firstly, that's interesting because a lot of people have wondered, probably a little less now, definitely a little less now. A lot of people have wondered whether this has been a little bit of a work. And I don't know how you feel about it, whether it still potentially could be a bit of a work, but it's an unusual situation to be in, isn't it, here, with the whole tag titles. But, you know what? We like a good tournament bracket, Carl. We do. And this is shaping up quite nicely. So we're getting Io Sky, I still not used to that name, but Io Sky and Dakota Kai. They're going to face Alexa Bliss and Asuka. Okay, a little bit of a random mashup, that one, but okay. And then we got Raquel Rodriguez, again, another name change, damn it, and Aaliyah, and they will be facing someone, some people.
Yeah, so it's my terrible notes. So I think the match is meant to take place on Smackdown this week. So it's those two from NXT, Zoe Stark and Nikita Lyons, taking on Natalya and Sonya Deville. So I imagine it'll be Natty and Sonya who make it through. So it'll be Raquel and Aaliyah.
I don't know. Wouldn't it be an interesting? I mean, again, could this be another like Triple H might actually start taking some stick if we push NXT too much? But could be interesting, couldn't it? Having the NXTers come up and do that.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they're both getting pushed pretty hard in NXT, so it would be different if they actually managed to topple Natty and Sonya.
It's interesting, like that Nikita seems to be getting a lot of fandom, let's say.
Yeah.
Just purely down to the way she pins people.
Basically, I would say so.
I mean, fair enough. Yeah. But
I concur.
I know nothing of her wrestling.
So
but we like a good tournament bracket, Carl.
Indeed.
Could be an interesting one. Who would you want to win? Do we even care about the women's tag titles anymore?
I imagine
I really hope this is the start of them being treated well, to be honest, because they really haven't been. The last time any respect was on them was probably when Bayley had them. Bayley and Sasha.
Well, I imagine it's going to be Io Sky and Dakota Kai, but it depends what they do with Sasha and Naomi. Like, have they re-signed them? If so, are they going to do some kind of thing around that and they just end up getting them back anyway? You know,
here's the thing. I mean, we might even see a shock return Smackdown this week, and that's how they round it out. I don't know.
Yeah, no idea.
Is it still a work? Do you think it's a work?
In what sense? When you say it's a work,
like, do you think they're all like Sasha and Naomi were always coming back? Do you think it was a complete work, or there was an element of truth to it?
I think there was definitely an element of truth to them kind
it's
of
complete
dropping
not
the. No, I think they definitely did walk out with the and left the titles there and stuff like that. Like that was confirmed to have happened, but whether or not they then turn it into, an angle where they bring them back and it's like, well, we never really lost those belts, and it leads to something. Maybe I can see that happening.
Like that time CM Punk walked out and then come back with his title and was like, "I never really lost my title."
Yeah,
Like exactly like that.
Kind of like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of exactly like that.
Kind of exactly like that. So that was WWE. Let's throw it over to AEWs. So we had Jon Moxley versus the Lionheart Chris Jericho. Basically, it's so funny this. So basically, Jericho gone back to his Lionheart gimmick, supposedly the last survivor at the Heart Dungeon. I literally think they just want to have more costumes for the AEW Fight Forever game. Just like at this point, he's come out under about 10 different outfits at this point, and different gimmicks. So it's like, okay, fine.
It's definitely not about the costumes for the video game. I mean, we're definitely going to get Captain Insano as well, but that's definitely just for nostalgic purposes. It's nothing to do with costumes.
No, of course not. Yeah, costumes and figures and just IP, in general. But yeah, like to be fair, this match was really, really good. You can say what you want about Jericho. I know he's had a couple of blips in his more recent AEW matches, but he was really good here. He was like old school Jericho. He nailed everything. It was just absolutely on point. There was a really sick segment where Jericho ripped out Moxley's earring, and obviously just was bleeding everywhere. So I'd like to think it wasn't real, but Moxley's a madman. So
I'm there watching that. Like, you know what? This is why you shouldn't wear earrings in PE. This is exactly why they tell you not to do that.
Yeah, it's an African billboard advertisement for that. But yeah, so all in all, the match I thought was really good. I think Jericho proved a lot of people wrong, and he's had a lot of critics and people saying that he's past it, and I think he looked great in this. So that was good. But yeah, the match itself was bloody. Mox had the earring spot.
I tend to find most of the critics for Jericho though they're just people who want to hate Jericho. It doesn't really matter what he does.
Well, yeah, or just hate.
He deliberately got big for Japan, and everyone called him fat. Then he lost weight, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, but he's still past it now." It's like, what can he do? What can the man do, really?
Well, yeah, exactly. But so we had the match, and obviously Jericho eventually got choked out by Moxley, and as expected, the JAS come down, and then the Blackpool Combat Club come down. It's all like fighting everywhere, and then CM Punk returns. And he comes back and fends off the JAS and has a stare down with Moxley in the ring, and it looked dead good. And I think everybody wants to see that match. So,
Punk v Mox is going to be a good match.
Oh yeah, defo. So I don't know whether Punk.
We definitely need MJF back sooner rather than later, though.
I missed that guy.
If this isn't work, it's going on way too long. And the recent suggestion, are we covering it in the news?
I don't think so.
The MJF rumors. The recent suggestion, based on I think it was something Britt Baker put out, is that he's around. He's around.
Interesting. Well, yeah, I don't know, but I definitely missed that guy. I'd love to see him back. But yeah, I don't know whether Punk is cleared, but you'd like to think if they've brought him back that he's going to be able to make All Out at least. So I think that's the match you make for All Out in September, isn't it? Is Moxley versus Punk. That's the headliner, and that's going to sell a lot of tickets. So yeah, loved it.
Indeed. But who would you favour to win? Do we want to see Punk retain his title and have a Punk run, or do we want Mox to kick his ass?
It's a massively tough one, to be fair. I do feel harsh on Punk because he never got much time with the belt. So you kind of want it to go back on the rightful owner, I suppose. But at the same time, you don't want to cheapen Moxley either because he is a legit badass, isn't he? And he's just won it back. But I'd probably go Punk, to be honest.
Yeah. I think whatever it is, I think them two are going to make a point of going to war over this. It's going to be a banger of a match.
Oh, God,
one not to be missed, you might even say.
Yeah, agreed. He just needs to stop jumping into the audience and breaking his foot. That'll be helpful.
I think he might be either that or they're going to have to get softer barriers. Well, it'd be interesting to see if he jumps into the audience again. Maybe he's learnt his lesson.
Well, exactly. People still think that he busted it when he was doing the bookshot, but I think we've unearthed the truth behind that.
Yeah,
if you look at our TikTok. If you look at our
One
TikTok,
day we'll interview Punk and go, seriously, that was the barrier, wasn't it? And he'll go, yes.
We'll be vindicated. And everyone will rejoice.
Vindication! Anyway, Jade Cargill.
Mm-hmm.
You know, heavily criticised, but okay, she's not the best wrestler in a technical sense ever, but I think she's done absolutely fantastic with the TBS title, right? To the point, Carl, she has now gone 36-0.
Damn.
Most recently going up against Madison Rayne, and for those of you who don't know, Madison Rayne has been recently appointed as AEW's, I want to say, head coach. I don't know what their full title is there, Carl.
Yeah, I think she's
coach the women's division, hasn't she?
Yeah.
And she was actually the latest challenger for Jade. This woman is a 17-year veteran, you know, and no slouch in the ring. And the pair of them put on a really good match. But ultimately, Jade picks up the win and take the 36-0. But what do we get, Carl? We get Athena jumping the guardrail. So, what do we make of this? I'm thinking Athena could be the one to break the streak. And again, this could be another absolute banger of a match set for All Out.
Yeah, it is really interesting, this, because I think obviously before Stat got injured, so obviously she's looking at another lengthy time on the sidelines, unfortunately now. But I didn't know where it was going.
She's had a really bad bit of luck so far.
Yeah,
She's starting on
I feel really bad for her because, you know, I didn't know whether it was going to be Athena or whether it was going to be Statlander who was going to be the one to challenge Jade. But I guess that decision has now been made just based on that injury. So I could see it, to be fair. Obviously, they brought Athena in. So I don't know. I think maybe Jade does need to be dethroned. Maybe because you don't want to go down Goldberg territory.
I think you get to a point. Exactly. You get to a point when she does need to take the loss. And to be honest, it keeps the TBS title interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah. The thing is, though, it has to mean something. So if it is going to be Athena that does beat her, it can't then just be like, oh, and then it fades into obscurity. Like, Jade has legitimised that title. So it needs to still be defended. It needs to, you know, whoever beats her, it needs to mean something.
For me, do you know what I think, though, would be a good shout, right? Because a lot of people have criticised, like, people coming in and then getting put on dark and never being seen again and so on like that. Athena is an example of someone who's come in and she's fucking killed it and potentially could walk away with the title in a short space of time, right? So for me, they could turn this into a thing, couldn't they? Like if she went up, let's say Athena, after taking the belt, assuming that's what happens, she goes up into a feud with, let's say, Ruby Soho as an example, right? Because on the back of that, Ruby's not had the same opportunity that Athena was gifted, so the feud writes itself right there.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
On paper, you know, there's probably reasons Ruby hasn't been thrust into that main event scene. Well, not main event, sorry, that, you know, TBS titles technically. No, what do we call it? They don't have mid-card titles, is that what they've said in the
That's
past?
what they've said.
Bullshit, it is, but you know,
they're on equal standard. Well, I mean, on that, right, people will probably hate me for this suggestion. Do you know who I would actually quite like to see dethrone Jade?
Go on.
Britt Baker.
Interesting.
Now, people are like, oh, you know, she's been the main champ for ages and stuff like that, but I don't know. I feel like because she...
And you know what? She's one of the pillars, and as far as people to hold the first one to hold both.
Exactly.
Not at the same time, obviously, but to have held both, that wouldn't be a bad shout, that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm sure they could do a load of fun stuff with, like, TBS and DMD and all that as well, you know, 3 letters.
Even redo the belt. The DMD title.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I would actually quite like to see that, to be fair. I know everyone is probably shouting now, going, God, no, God, no.
Well, it'd be an interesting one as well, wouldn't it? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, wouldn't this have been done before we've had a TNT title holder become a world champ as well? Or have we had that?
Who's held the TNT
I lost a little bit of track of TNT title.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Who's had it overall?
Cody,
so this would be
Cody, Brody, Miro, Darby.
Flex Aracalia.
Starks.
Keep going.
The Starks had it. Scorpio Sky's had it twice.
Sky's had it, yeah.
Sammy's had it twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think anyone's...
So from a perspective of, and I know it's not about men versus women or anything like that, but wouldn't it be a nice accolade for the women's roster to have achieved before the men? Like, because so far no TNT champs have gone on to win the world title or vice versa. Because, you know, we don't have a main title and a mid-card title, so it doesn't matter what way around it goes. So Britt would be the only one in the company who's won both.
Yeah. I quite like that, to be fair. But I imagine where they're leaning towards for All Out is we're probably going to get, unless they do something with Thunder and Tony Storm again, we're probably going to get Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa's final, like the blow-off match between them. And I don't think they'll take the title off Thunder and put it back on Britt. So maybe that's the way that it happens after All Out.
I don't think she's had the right run with the belt yet. I wanted to keep it a bit longer than. Yeah, I'll keep saying. You know what, she's been held for 30 years, and I'll still be saying that. I just don't think she's had enough time yet. Like, she's retiring, damn it.
Yeah.
But you have to admit though, like, we know there's more she can do with that champ, that belt, so she needs to keep it longer. Thunder, that is.
Oh yeah. So yeah, the next one I want to talk about, another fantastic match, was the coffin match between Brody King and Darby Allin. Now, anyone who caught me reviewing the match that Brody and Darby had a couple of weeks ago knew that it was probably one of my favourite matches of the year, if not my favourite match. This one, again, I just love this feud. Like, this is David and Goliath done right. It's not like, you know what I mean, like, we've seen one of our big kind of hang-ups around, like, the likes of Rey Mysterio and stuff like that is, a lot of time it's, oh yeah, how is he going to overcome? And whereas with Darby and Brody, it's like Brody just legitimately massacres Darby the majority of the time, as it should be. And this was no different. Like, essentially, Brody beat the shit out of Darby for the whole match. But yeah, there was a really, and it's been done so many times, and we all could see it coming a million miles away. But the spot with when they opened the coffin and Sting was sat inside it, you know, it's like, I don't know. Yeah. I'm still gonna pop for that. That's still awesome.
I think that's one of them cliches. That's still fun. Yeah. Like you say, we've seen it done so much, but it's never not fun, is it?
Well, exactly. And you had Buddy Matthews coming back. You had like the whole House of Black stuff.
Buddy Matthews put up a tweet that really said not much, but everyone's so sure that he hates AEW and is definitely leaving. So I'm surprised he come back.
Well, yeah. If it's on the internet, it has to be true.
Just me being passive aggressive. Like, literally anyone puts anything.
Yeah.
Anything at all. Like, someone put like, sick of waiting because they're in a queue at McDonald's. I was like, he's sick of waiting to leave. See, he's waiting out his contract. I was like, just calm the fuck down.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so, you know, match-wise, thought it was really good. I really like House of Black as well. They do feel like a really cohesive unit. I think if these trio titles do, well, they are happening, but I don't think they'll win them straight away. But
without used to being like, if they happen, we're not used to the fact that they are.
But I could definitely see that faction holding them at some point. But yeah, match was awesome. I love the little throwback at the end where Darby choked out Brody King in the same way that he got choked out and eliminated from the Battle Royal. So love that.
Not the same way.
Well, yeah, there was a chain involved this time, but still. So yeah, I liked obviously that whole spot where he fell into the coffin and stuff like that. So yeah, really liked it. Really liked this feud, and obviously it's one apiece now. So will we get a blow off match? I'm not too sure. All remains to be seen. But yeah, oh yeah.
I just want a normal wrestling match, but we can have this blow off that you're suggesting.
Works for me.
But now, Carl, my next one, and I think again the last one for AEW. Just a fantastic bit of tag team wrestling, let's be honest. The Lucha Brothers versus Andrade and Rush. I mean, I think we've said a few times now, the Lucha Brothers are fucking amazing, right?
Next level. So good.
Next level. And this, again, just a really... I mean, there's no disrespect to Andrade and Rush, but the Lucha Brothers, I think, proven time and time again how fucking awesome they are, right? And again, this was just a fucking awesome tag match, high energy. And you know what? It was like this really unique spot with... them tying Penta's mask to the ropes, and then he's had to sort of dive to unmask himself to try to save from the pin. And again, that's like it's just like unique shit like that, isn't it? Like,
yeah, I just love stuff that you don't see all the time.
It's fantastic as well, but that, like you say, it's a bit different, and it was interesting as fuck. And do you know what? The fans absolutely fucking hated it, and it led to a great bit of heel heat for Andrade and Rush. So I think everything about this match was it was really good fun, really enjoyable. And it's one of them matches, and I don't know why I do this so much, but like on paper you look at that and you go, yeah, sure, it'll be okay, but you don't go into it like excited, and that's no disrespect to them. Because I think that's how it ends up surprising you every fucking time. I should look at a Lucha Brothers match now and go, this is going to be fucking good. But for some reason, I still don't. I still go, yeah, it should be an alright match. And then
I think WWE have just like preconditioned us. Whenever you see a tag team match, you're like, oh. Yeah, he's like, do you know what I mean? That, like you forget almost like, no, this is AEW and this is the Lucha Brothers. Like, this is going to be fire. So
yeah, exactly. And I'm still not in that mindset of going, this is going to be fire. So I think, again, I was almost surprised by how good the match was, even though I shouldn't be. So, all in all, I think it was just a quality fucking match.
Indeed. So probably just a little quick preview then of tonight. So obviously we have AEW, which is sponsored by House of the Dragon. So it's all House of the Dragon branded. But yeah, it's looking pretty stacked, to be fair. So we've got
House of the Dragon.
Well, yeah, exactly. We've got Tony Storm taking on Kyle and King. We've got the Varsity Blondes taking on the Gun Club. We have, I'm not sure if it's the first trios one, but we've got a trios match, which is Andrade, Rush, and Dragon Lee taking on the Young Bucks and their mystery partner. Now, we know it's not going to be Hangman Adam Page, because he's going to be managing the Dark Order in their kind of quest. So, Kenny Omega coming back tonight?
A little bit of Kenny.
A little bit of Kenny. I think that's going to happen. So that's going to be exciting. And obviously, we've got Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, who was just being on all over our YouTube shorts, is the special guest timekeeper for the main event, which is going to be Bryan Danielson and Danny Garcia in a 2 out of 3 falls match. And that's just going to be fucking awesome, like all this stuff is. So, Straight fire from the Dragon in House of Dragon. So yeah, I think you probably agree. Raw, SmackDown, AEW, been really good. Bit of healthy competition, really making them step things up. It's felt a lot better the last couple of weeks. So long may that continue.
Indeed.
So until next week. Make sure you check out the Ringside Report, where we're going to be talking through a lot of interesting pieces of news, including, WWE Raw and SmackDown potentially going to Netflix is an interesting one. Potentially WWE Draft coming up as well, so make sure you tune into that to get all the latest there. And we're going to be giving super early match card predictions for Clash at the Castle. But until then... Super early. Until then, here is the one and only Thunder Rosa to say... Bye.
Hey everybody, this is Thunder Rosa and you're watching or listening A to the K. A to the K.
A to the K.